Folks, we had a very busy weekend. We learned that Luis Ariz was headed to San Francisco. We learned that Eugenio Suarez was going to an old home of his. He's had a couple, but he's going to the one where maybe he gained notoriety. We also want to talk about the two marquee pitchers that are left on the market. What's happening with their market? Also, if the insurance word is upsetting you as it pertains to baseball, we're going to try and break down why it may be bad and why it may not be bad for the upcoming World Baseball Classic. It's the Just Baseball Show. Jack McMullen, Peter Appel. Peter, as always, who we brought to you by?
BetMGM. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JustBaseball when signing up, and you will get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code JustBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. And the biggest game of the year calls for the boost pack that is just as big. BetMGM is rolling out the big game boost pack, and it gives you 3 different ways to boost the odds on your next big game bet. Here's how it works. Log in, and your big game boost pack is going to be waiting for you. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip and activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with the token activated, you're getting extra winnings on top of your payout. So if you want to add a little more excitement to your big game action, make sure you grab the big game boost pack from BetMGM. Make it legendary. A reminder, that's code JustBaseball on BetMGM. Super Bowl right on the horizon.
Yep. And again, the only way to make something sound better is by attaching something like a boost pack to it. So always love that stuff. I just mentioned everything that we were going to talk about except one thing, and that one thing is leading the show. The Rafael Devers trade tree grows in a much more negative way as opposed to the Sean McVay coaching tree, where, did I see this right? Every single one of his OCs with the Rams is now an NFL head coach, which is absolutely insane. This trade tree does not look that good. A reminder, last year, after reports of a fractured clubhouse dynamic between Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox, he was shipped out to San Francisco for a package that was loaded up with prospects. Maybe the most notable one was Kyle Harrison, who is still a member of the Boston Red Sox organization. Is he projected to be in their opening day rotation? No, he's not. He is starting pitching depth. Some of the other guys that were part of that, Jordan Hicks was part of that, who signed a $44 million deal with San Francisco before the trade to Boston. Hicks was really underwhelming, and now he's traded. Jordan Hicks goes from Boston to the Chicago White Sox, along with, let me get the whole transaction in front of me so I don't mess this up, along with pitching prospect David Sandlin, and 2 players to be named later, and $8 million in cash. And in turn, Boston receives Gage Zeal, who is a top 15 to 20 prospect in the White Sox organization, and 1 player to be named later. So not only is Boston eating 8 of the remaining $25 million left on Jordan Hicks's deal, but they had to attach a prospect in turn to get a prospect that is pretty equivalent to who Sandlin is. Zeal is further off, but also younger, maybe a little bit more promise than a Sandlin. And you got a couple of players to be named later in this trade as well. It's not the trade that we're going to break down and that you're going to rant on for a little bit. It's the idea about moving more of these branches from the Devers trade tree. No?
Yes. And I think that this trade also is a prime example of why the Rafael Devers trade continues to get worse and worse. Because when the Red Sox moved off of that big contract with Rafael Devers, the expectation was they were going to reinvest those funds back into the team. And since then, they haven't exactly done that. Yes, they've gotten Ranger Suarez, which is, of course, a nice pickup. They took on Sonny Gray. They took on Wilson Contreras, both contracts from the Cardinals. But the Cardinals ate some of that money, and I'm not giving them a lot of credit for bringing in Yohan Oviedo. But the reason that this trade continues to make the Rafael Devers trade look worse is in this exact trade, the Red Sox, who are supposed to post a top 10 payroll, they are one of the biggest markets in baseball. They should not be a team looking for consistent salary dumps unless they reinvest that money back into the squad. So by trading away Jordan Hicks, they're saving about $17 million. A player who I think the Red Sox could use in Geno Suarez, who we're going to talk about in the next segment, just signed for $15 million. The Red Sox could use a third baseman. I know that they have a glut there of position players, so maybe that wasn't the perfect fit. But do we feel confident the Red Sox are even going to reinvest that $17 million of savings? And I think that presents the problem that when this trade was made, was upset with the Red Sox because I did not have faith that they would reinvest that money. And I think you and Aram were looking at them optimistically. Of course, they're going to reinvest this money. But the problem is they really haven't. And that was my biggest issue with the trade at the time.
So I viewed their plan of attack as a reallocation of assets, right? And after the Devers trade, I believe within 3 weeks to a month, Roman Anthony is on a 9-figure extension. So I thought that they were looking at other people on their roster or in their organization saying, it's time to give them runway. It's time to put our money where our mouths are with these guys. And they started to do that. And they took on some cash. I understand that they had St. Louis paid down Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray earlier this offseason in order to get better prospect returns. The Cardinals at least did. But the Red Sox are still taking on an influx of cash. So they did sort of kind of reallocate that Devers money. I will push back a little bit on the Hicks thing where you have this newfound $17 million spend. That was sort of kind of dead weight with Jordan Hicks. He was incredibly underwhelming. And you can look at it in a couple of different ways. The way that you're looking at it is we have $17 million of funny money over the next 2 years or so that we can use for Jordan Hicks. The other way, which is probably the way Craig Breslow was looking at it, is we're on the hook for this. Let's get out from under this. And if we spend it, sure. If not, not the end of the world. I'm not justifying them not spending. I'm just saying that felt more like an anchor cost than, oh, we free this up. We get to put that money right back into the product. I'm not sure that's how they're going to go, but the Yankees pivot from Soto is probably the best example of reallocation of assets. You had $750 million put aside for one dude. And when he goes somewhere else, you spray the board with a bunch of other stuff. And I thought the Yankees did that very effectively last year. The Red Sox are not doing that as effectively after moving at Devers, but they did get Ranger Suarez. They did trade for Sonny Gray. They did trade for Wilson Contreras. I can't knock them for a terrible offseason. I'm just with you. Every single move in a vacuum seems like that Devers trade was horrible. And it could age like the Mookie Betts deal, where it's just milk and nothing really comes to fruition for the Boston Red Sox, and Mookie's thriving in LA and Devers could thrive in San Francisco.
I think we're looking at the Jordan Hicks deal in two different facets. And I actually agree with your side. In a vacuum, it's a good baseball move. Jordan Hicks put up an 8.20 ERA with them.
If you can get out from that,
they had to get out from that money. I'm just saying it represents a pattern that the Red Sox have been continually doing with all of their guys. When they move off a salary dump, these big market teams should then reinvest that money instead of kind of tiptoeing the line, right? They fell a couple $1 million short of Alex Bregman. And I also just think back to Rafael Devers in general. He seemed to be this incredible player. Not seemed, he was this incredible player.
Still is.
Then the Red Sox, he still is. The Red Sox sign Alex Bregman, which then caused this internal beef in the first place. So for the reaction to be, well, this was an immovable contract. They couldn't get anything from it. It was their doing at the beginning. There wasn't clubhouse drama before they brought in Bregman. Now, did Devers handle it well? No. But are the Red Sox at fault here for not only the trade, but for the drama itself? Maybe not all of it, but a big chunk.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I think Rafi Devers was prepared to be a pro, and he didn't have to be because he got traded and he got his wish. And he didn't get his wish to play third base, but he got his wish to be somewhere else. And it seems like the Red Sox were happier that they got that headache out of the way. But again, the ripple effect of this trade, where Kyle Harrison was underwhelming last year, Jose Bayo's still in the organization, but Tibbs was flipped with another good prospect for Dustin May, and then you've got Hicks going for a prospect here in Gage Zeal. It's just a tough one to wrap your head around. Quick 30-second piece on the White Sox before we break here. This is a fun risk for the White Sox to take. They've had a really frisky offseason. They just got out from the Luis Robert money. They had some spend here, and they go get Jordan Hicks. They go get another iron in the fire in the starting rotation. So, hey, pivoting to the White Sox conversation, it was a pretty darn good move for them. But interesting trade. We're going to get to a free agent signing in a moment right here on the Just Baseball Show.
I'll go to my grave convinced, by the way, if Sean Payton takes the field goal and goes up 10-0, maybe that's a totally different game and Denver's playing this weekend instead. So I'm not trying to bash New England. They obviously are a very good team. I just don't think they're a great team, and I felt like the winner of the NFC title game was going to win the Super Bowl. So I still feel, as we're days leading up to this game, I still feel like that's the case.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
David Tyree.
Oh, wow.
The 2008 Giants win against the New England Patriots, and the Tyree catch of the Plaxico Burress game-winning touchdown. That was the only other time in Super Bowl history where the betting public won money.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Baseball Show continues. Jack McMullen and Peter Appel. We just talked about the White Sox and the Red Sox swapping. Jordan Hicks goes from the Red Sox to the White Sox. It's so hard when you got these two Sox, but they make trades all the time, right? Chris Sale, Garrett Crochet, and now you've got Jordan Hicks, who falls a little bit further behind Chris Sale and Garrett Crochet. But do want to talk about the big fish that did land over the weekend. Eugenio Suarez, who, by the way, hit 49 homers last year, signed a 1-year, $15 million deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Eugenio Suarez grew up kind of a Red. He blossomed into the player he is now as a Cincinnati Red. He has a 49 home run season as a Cincinnati Red. It's just crazy to me that he gets a 1-year, $15 million deal with a mutual option in 27 after he hits 49 homers and drives in 118 between 159 games between Arizona and Seattle. I'll get into the suitors for Suarez in a moment, but this price tag and this length of contract, I understood that the market didn't materialize. $3 million more than a rise? Really?
How about like $3 million more than Alex Cobb signed with the Tigers like a year ago?
That's insane.
I mean, don't even worry about a rise. Like, I mean, a 1-year, $15 million deal for Gino Suarez, who hit 49 home runs this year. Check. Absolutely, I will do that. How about this? If he played every single game at Great American Ballpark last year, every single game, obviously, it's not.
You got to play 81 away from home.
You're going to play 81 away games, but I'm just saying, in a perfect world, he played all the games he played last year. If you played him at Great American Ballpark, 54 home runs. 54. Now, is he going to hit 54 for the Reds next year? Probably not. But think about it. Some of these guys are signing for $40 million a year, $50 million a year. Kyle Tucker, $60 million a year. And you get a guy who is very likely, at least, to hit about 30 home runs on a 1-year, $15 million deal. I think about it. So Gino's last year with Cincinnati, back in 2021, he hit 198. He put up a 714 OPS with 31 home runs. I think that's still worth $15 million.
Of course.
Right? So I think the floor is still worth it.
For a guy like that, too.
Yeah.
Like, Eugenio Suarez is a beloved vibe curator. I mean, how many videos have you seen over the last couple of days of Eugenio Suarez? just poking fun at like Jim Day in the Cincinnati Reds telecasts. Hanging out. Seattle obviously loved him. They were fired up when they got him back at the deadline. There's nothing wrong with this guy to the point where I wouldn't give him a 2-year, $30 million deal and he gets 1 for 15. I do want to tie in one of the suitors here because I think it's really important. Chris Cotillo, who covers the Red Sox, said that the Red Sox were never involved in the Eugenio Suarez conversations. But Alex Stumpf, who does a great job covering the Pirates for MLB.com, tweeted this. Pirates offered the same annual value for Suarez as what he signed for the Reds and were willing to go higher, in parentheses, according to a source. Sounds like Suarez chose a more favorable ballpark and familiarity with Cincy for a prove-it deal. The Pirates did not have the mutual option on the table. It was 1 for 15 that they had offered him. Alex also said the Pirates were willing to do a multi-year deal. It seems like the Pirates were positioned to make a better offer to Eugenio Suarez if he so chose, but he just wanted to prove it deal with the Cincinnati Reds. That is understandable from the Suarez lens. That is a gut punch for a team that's had a really strong offseason in the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Absolutely. But it is so understandable why Gino would take a 1-year deal with Cincinnati, try and hit as many home runs as he possibly can at that ballpark. That is one of the best in baseball for hitting home runs, and enter free agency next year and tried to get a multi-year deal. Because Podcast P just brought this up in our private chat. 2025 Gino Suarez was the first player to hit 40 home runs with a sub 300 OBP. Put up a 298 on base percentage last year. He had 49 home runs. So a big reason why Gino Suarez's market probably crept down was teams said, are you going to be able to replicate the power that you showed last year? Because if you aren't, you're not a good defender. Your bat to ball isn't exactly great. You don't take enough walks. So you're not really going to get on base. So if you aren't hitting 40 home runs, you're not very valuable. Here's the thing. Gino went to the exact place where his home runs could be even more valuable because he's going to hit more of them. That's why I understand why he might not have even taken a multi-year deal to go to Pittsburgh. It's much easier to hit home runs at Great American Ballpark.
Yeah. You just got me thinking about that Mark McGwire Simpsons meme. Do you guys remember Mark McGwire's cameo in The Simpsons? And I pulled up the quote so I have it exactly, where Mark McGwire gets down on a knee.
We're the same age. We're the same age, but sometimes your references are like 20 years older than the both of us.
I don't think so, man. I think this was airing when we were kids. I loved watching The Simpsons growing up. But Mark McGwire leans down and he says to Bart, do you want to know the terrifying truth or do you want to see me sock a few dingers? And that's how I feel about Eugenio Suarez at this point, where like, I understand sub 300 OBP. I understand that can be a deterring factor in signing a guy like Eugenio Suarez. But he socked 49 dingers last year. So at some point that has to cost something. And I understand that Schwarber is an $150 million talent because he is the marriage of 50 homers and a really high on base and a great clubhouse guy. But Eugenio Suarez is a really good clubhouse guy that hit 49 home runs this past year. I understand he was a detriment defensively. Schwarber doesn't play defense. I am by no means justifying in a $100 million deal for Eugenio Suarez. I'm just saying the difference in offensive output between 5 for 150 to go to Philly and 1 for 15 to go to Cincinnati is walks? Really? It's crazy.
I get what you mean. And especially because, again, go to the place where those home runs are going to mean more in Great American too. So he's setting himself up to be valuable. Right? If he went to the Giants or another team where the ballpark is a lot smaller, maybe they don't get the full value even of 1 year's 15, but that's why it's such a good fit with the Reds.
Right. And like you run into that conversation again next offseason when he hits the open market again. If he hits the open market and the mutual option isn't picked up and you say, oh, well, you hit 40 more bombs, but it was in Cincinnati. So,
well, good. The Reds still got those 40 home runs and now they don't need to give him the multi-year deal next year. They just get him fired up and wanting to hit more home runs. It's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Eugenio Suarez, again, a 1-year, $15 million deal with a mutual option to return to the Cincinnati Reds. Eugenio Suarez in his career spent 7 years in Cincinnati after 85 games at the outset of his career with Detroit. In those 7 years with Cincinnati, he played over 900 games and hit 189 home runs. So very happy for Gino Suarez. Going back to Cincy, we're going to talk insurance next.
Aaron Judge, no stranger to hitting 60 home runs in a season, but we certainly aren't going to put a FanDuel win total or even DraftKings at 60. So Sam, our producer, set it at 55. Aaron Judge will hit 55 plus home runs this year. You going to buy or sell?
All right, Aaron Rodgers here.
Oh, there
Aaron,
he is.
What do you think? What do you think, Aaron? Can you hit 55? Aaron Judge, right? I got it in my head here. 55 is asking a lot, Sam. It's asking a lot. He hit 53 last year, 58 the year before, 37, but that was the year he hurt his toe in Dodger Stadium, and then of course 62. I gotta sell this. All right, you're asking for just to be 7 home runs off the record? I mean, no, we can't keep doing this every year here. Plus, he does have an injury history there. Over the last 2 years, he's been completely healthy. I'll just say no. Between possibility of an injury, teams waking up going, nope, not pitching to him. I'll take the under here. Although as a Yankee fan, he better, because if he don't, Yankees gonna be in a lot of trouble.
So I've decided to go by the letter of the law. Sam is not going to like this. Sam is not going to like my answer. Yep. Sam, listen. Sam leaves these little loopholes in the buy or sell. 55 home runs between 55 plus the regular season, postseason, World Baseball Classic. Buy. Spring training. Buy. Above 55. Between spring training, World Baseball Classic, regular season, and postseason, Aaron Judge will hit 55 home runs.
Such a lawyer in another life.
He didn't say this season. He said this year. The graphic says this year.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Football show continues. Jack and Peter, Peyton Gene is hanging out. By the way, congratulations to Podcast P for outlasting and being the Podcast P standing right now. So let's talk insurance.
Great.
That's been a huge conversation over the last few days as it pertains to the World Baseball Classic. And some notable players have had their insurance for the WBC denied. The World Baseball Classic is using, to my understanding, one insurer to get all of these guys insured. And there are some hurdles that you have to jump over. Like Francisco Lindor was denied insurance to play for Team Puerto Rico. So Lindor opted out. He will no longer be representing Team Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. That's really unfortunate. Lindor, one of the better WBC performers we've seen in the last couple of tournaments, and he was the captain of Team Puerto Rico, but he had an elbow debridement procedure done over the offseason, and that is probably why
what I
his
will say
insurance was hit. Yeah.
Real quick, the president of the Puerto Rico Baseball Federation has not ruled out a last-minute addition of Francisco Lindor to their WBC roster per Prime Rahora on X at PRIMERAHORA. I don't want to mispronounce that. But the good thing is maybe he's a last-minute addition. We'll see.
Sure. So bear with me here. Sean Spradling does an amazing job of covering the World Baseball Classic. He's doing a heck of a job as a content creator, and he tweeted out this exhaustive thing. And I think it's worth me reading his tweet just so people understand what's going on with the WBC insurance game. Okay. So Sean tweeted, here's how the WBC insurance works, at least to the best I understand it. All boils down to, quote, guaranteed salaries. To play in the World Baseball Classic, a player on a Major League 40-man roster must be covered by insurance to guarantee their salary. The insurer for the WBC is NFP, who Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association have agreed upon. The players undergo entrance-exit physicals to help distinguish injuries incurred during the WBC from pre-existing ones. Per a source cited by Francis Romero, players are categorized by 3 different health designations. Either a chronic condition, which is repeated injuries over years, multiple 60-day IL stints, an intermediate condition, which is multiple 10-day IL stints over 2 to 3 years, or a low-risk condition, little to no injury history. So that will decide if a player is insurable or uninsurable. So if a player receives insurance, their salary for the upcoming year from their MLB team is guaranteed. If a player does not receive insurance, their salary is not guaranteed. So if you're uninsured, you have a couple of options. You play in the World Baseball Classic uninsured. You risk your salary for the games that you miss because of an injury accrued during the WBC. You play in the World Baseball Classic and you purchase your insurance out of your own pocket, or you skip the World Baseball Classic. And Sean noted, of course, there's nuance in every single step, but there is one insurer deciding if these guys will have their multi-million dollar salary protected going into the MLB season. And if they were to get hurt in the World Baseball Classic, insurance will cover your salary for games that you miss. So say you play uninsured and you're on Francisco Lindor's deal where he's making about $34 million a year. God forbid he tears his ACL. He'll have to forfeit $34 million. It makes no sense for the player, and it's really unfortunate that we're in this position.
And, I'm not trying to side with insurance companies. That's never something I want to bring to the table. But I could understand as an insurance company, if you see a guy with a very, very high salary who also got off-season surgery, is that a guy who you want to go let play and be on call if he does get injured, and then you have to pay that $34 million salary?
Sure.
Not particularly. Yeah. And there's a lot of players on Puerto Rico that are like that are expensive, have had either off-season surgeries or coming off an injury-plagued season.
Carlos
and I think
Correa,
that's
Jose Barrios, yeah.
Right. It's a lot of those guys. Like Barrios' contract is huge, right? Correa is coming off a healthier season, but he also dealt with an injury in the last World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of these guys are in gray areas with these insurance companies. Puerto Rico just happens to have a lot more players than other teams that are in these gray areas, which is why it seems like the insurance companies are ganging up on them, which of course they aren't. I mean, and it stinks for Puerto Rico because they're going to be a host of the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Their fans are some of the most excited for this competition. Their team is going to be really, really good. It just puts them in a really tough scenario, and I'm just hoping that it all gets resolved.
We're going to have a lot more leading up to the World Baseball Classic on this show and airing on SportsGrid. But I do want to shout out one super weird provision in rules that pertain to Miguel Rojas. Miguel Rojas will not be playing for Team Venezuela because he's going to turn 37 years old. There's a WBC insurance provision that prevents any player 37 or older from receiving coverage on their contract. So because Miguel Rojas turns 37 years old, he will be unable to be insured to play for Team Venezuela. He's entering his final year of Major League Baseball. So Miguel Rojas is not going to play in the World Baseball Classic. It's just weird, and it's very cloudy, and I'm struggling with the exact definition of who should be insured, who shouldn't be insured. And, I hope this gets resolved and we get a heck of a WBC, and I do think that will be the case. We know Shohei Ohtani is going to DH. We know he's not going to pitch as well. But we're going to keep on moving. More headlines in a moment on the Just Baseball show, airing right here on SportsGrid.
Drake May and Sam Darnold here and again, getting out of Stidham, which who knows what that have brought to the Super Bowl. But at least we get a young quarterback in Drake May looking to stamp his claim to, Tom Brady was great for this organization. Let me see if I can run a couple championships up the flagpole early in my career. And then there's Sam Darnold at this point, where he's getting other general managers fired while he's making his run to the Super Bowl. He's been nothing short of really, really good this season.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the two-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
David Tyree.
Oh, wow.
The 2008 Giants win against the New England Patriots, and the Tyree catch of the Plaxico Burst game-winning touchdown. That was the only other time in Super Bowl history where the betting public won money.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Baseball show rolls on. As always, it is presented by BetMGM. A reminder to make it legendary. Jack McMullen and Peter Appel. We just talked about WBC insurance. Now I want to talk about a guy that starred for Team Venezuela during the 23 World Baseball Classic. Luis Arraez has a new home, folks, and Arraez is going to play second base for the San Francisco Giants. It's a one-year, $12 million deal. It was broken by Jorge Castillo. Luis Arraez is headed to the Bay. San Francisco had been waiting in the second base waters for a minute. We had seen reports about them pursuing Nico Horner in a trade from the Chicago Cubs. Saw reports about them pursuing Brendan Donovan in a trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. But they opt for the most polarizing bat on the free agent market. And a guy that has played first base for the most part over the last couple of years. When he did play second base, it was incredibly underwhelming defensively. I guess I want to start with Arraez the market, then we can get into Arraez the player and the fit with San Francisco. 1 year, $12 million for a guy that has won 3 batting titles in the last 4 years. It shows you where we're at when it comes to perceiving batting average, no?
2 players have hit over 300 over the last 3 of the last 4 years. You see it on YouTube Live. Aaron Judge, Luis Arraez. But I'm not surprised that Arraez got 1 year, $12 million. Because you look at Luis Arraez over the past few seasons, right? In 2024, he hit 314, but he put up a 1.1 FWAR. In 2025, he hit 292, but he put up a 0.9 FWAR. He's not going to affect the game on the bases. He's not going to affect the game defensively. He's not going to hit more than 10 home runs. What you are banking on is a ton of singles and his ability to hit for a high average.
Yeah.
So 1 year, $12 million, I'm not surprised. However, I like the signing. I do. And here's why.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a narrative goes too far. When you see Luis Arraez get compared to Tony Gwynn, people will inevitably come back around and say, that is so disrespectful to Tony Gwynn. He is nowhere near that player. And then people go from batting average is the most important statistic to batting average doesn't matter at all. But we have to find a middle ground here because batting average at the end of the day is hits divided by at-bats. If you get a lot of hits, that's really good. Let's not forget that. The issue is when people say batting average doesn't matter versus not mattering at all or mattering too much, we can find a middle area. And I feel like the Giants found the middle area being like, all right, we'll bring in the guy who's most likely going to hit 300 with our vast outfield and spray a bunch of singles and not strike out at all. Sure.
Yeah, that's my thought as well. And Arraez, like, here's the thing. He just doesn't walk to the level that you wish a high batting average guy like him would. There are very few redeeming qualities with him outside of the batting average thing, where I think if we're looking at a Stephen Kwan, that guy does so many other really good things, which makes him one of the more valuable table setters on the market and in Major League Baseball. Peyton just flashed this for us. 2025 Luis Arraez hit 307 on batted balls outside of the strike zone and hit under 290 on batted balls within the strike zone. He's going to chase, and it's going to result in tough contact, but he can also just loop him in, and he has this innate feel for dropping a baseball right over the infielder's head. The interesting wrinkle here, and we've got 6 minutes to expand on this, is him playing second base. We look at that left side of the infield for San Francisco, and that is as surefire as the left side of the infield is in the game right now. Matt Chapman was extended. Willie Adames looks like a top 10 shortstop of the game. And then you look at the right side, and you see Rafi Devers, who's going to play first for the Giants for the foreseeable future, and then Luis Arraez. And oh, by the way, breaking news from Jeff Passan, as we talk on the Just Baseball show, the second base market is materializing. Seattle makes their pivot. They go and get Brendan Donovan as part of a three-way trade that also includes the Tampa Bay Rays, because of course Tampa's involved. And of course Tampa's going to get a ton of great prospects because Tampa's so good at this, so good at prospect acquisition. But Donovan is a Seattle Mariner. We'll hold our thoughts on Donovan for the final segment. But I want to stick on Luis Arraez, the second baseman. Does this make much sense, or are they paying the price for adding an elite table setter at the top of their lineup?
Well, here's what I think they're doing. I think they're going to platoon at second base Casey Schmidt and Luis Arraez, right? You get the right-handed Casey Schmidt, who is an all-world defender at second base, and you get the lefty Arraez to go up against righties and play well below average defense at second base. The good thing is the Giants, at least on the left side of the infield, with Matt Chapman and Willie Adames, have as good of a left side defense as any team in Major League Baseball. The issue is on the right side of the defense with Arraez and Devers, it could be some of the worst defense. And I even tweeted out, you know, that Thanos when he's talking to Baby Gamora in Avengers and he's holding up the thing and he says, all things remain in perfect balance.
Oh, yeah.
That with a little knife and how it sits there. That's kind of my reaction to that. Is the defense is going to suffer on the right side of the infield, but I know that the Giants had the 6th worst batting average as an offense last year. They needed a contact-oriented guy like Luis Arraez. So is it the perfect fit? No. Is 1 year, $12 million to find out a good deal? Of course it is. I really like this signing, and it makes the Giants better. That's the point. And it didn't cost them that much.
Yeah, I totally understand that, man. In terms of where he fits in that lineup, do you just see the tippy top? How is this going to work? I think he's a better leadoff option than a Jung-Hoo Lee. I also understand if they hit him 6th.
I think when you're looking at the Giants lineup, you're probably going to go with Arraez at the top of the lineup. And in Oracle, if he can hit 310, it's a pretty good leadoff guy. Just get on base, right? You know, he's not going to take a ton of walks, but he's not going to strike out either. I'm totally fine with him at the top of the lineup. And then preceding him are guys like Willie Adames, Rafael Devers, and Matt Chapman. That sounds like a really good front four to me, probably backed up by Heliot Ramos. And then you probably have Jung-Hoo Lee in the 9 spot. I'm actually just going through the lineup off the top of my head. Bader's going to be in there. We already mentioned Jung-Hoo Lee. Patrick Bailey's probably going to hit 8th. Bryce Eldridge might get some run this season.
Yeah.
Feels like a pretty good lineup to me. Now, unfortunately, I think they have to address more pitching-wise for them to really contend for a wild card spot. But in a vacuum, I think this makes them better.
I wish they were involved in the pitching market more than they have been. Like Adrian Hauser instead of Zach Gallen to this point feels a little weird to me. Who's to say that Gallen is off the table for them? And we'll talk about them at the very, very end of the show. But I thought they could have been in the trade hunt for Mackenzie Gore. I thought they could have forced Minnesota's hand for Joe Ryan. You know, you push the chips forward on starting pitching. They really haven't done that. They found, not bargain bin ads, but they found frugal ads pitching wise. Lineup wise, they've gotten a heck of a lot better in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. In Bader and Arraez, it just feels more well-rounded versus looking at it at the end of the year and you saw Christian Koss in that lineup and Casey Schmidt in that lineup consistently. And it just didn't really leave a good taste in your mouth. And it felt like Bob Melvin was trying to find lineups that worked. And ultimately, he's not there anymore. But Tony Vitello has this influx of talent, has this veteran leadership coming in as well. Really excited for what's to come. San Francisco, you still feel like they're looking up at 3 other teams in that division? We've got about a minute left in this segment because the Dodgers are obviously on the mountaintop. Arizona, I would put right behind the Dodgers, I think. But Arizona has taken a step back this offseason. And then San Diego is weird.
I don't know if they're looking up at 3 other teams. I think the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are all going to be in similar buckets this season. I think they're going to be in the low 80s. And I don't think the problem is them looking up at the Dodgers. I think it's them looking at the rest of the National League in order to make a wild card run, right?
Yeah.
Because are they better than the Phillies or the Braves or the Mets? Are they better than the Cubs and the Brewers? And, potentially a team I really like is the Pirates this season, right? Are they better than those teams? I think that's what they'd be looking at. But of course, they have a problem right now because they haven't distanced themselves from the Padres or the Diamondbacks. And then you have to climb the mountain of the other teams in the National League.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, on the other side of the break, we're going to talk Brendan Donovan, some news on the Just Baseball show.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Stacking up wins to avoid a brutal matchup path, and when Giannis gets back full burst, they got to get him back on the floor and back on the floor healthy. The Bucs season won't be defined by the game Giannis misses. It'll be defined whether Milwaukee protects him from himself and gets him back in April if he's still a part of the team.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid. Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
I'll go to my grave convinced, by the way, if Sean Payton takes the field goal and goes up 10-0, maybe that's a totally different game and Denver's playing this weekend instead. So I'm not trying to bash New England. They obviously are a very good team. I just don't think they're a great team, and I felt like the winner of the NFC title game was going to win the Super Bowl. So I still feel, as we're days leading up to this game, I still feel like that's the case.
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
Jack McMullen, Peter Appel. We got breaking news from Jeff Passan that Brendan Donovan is headed to Seattle. Donovan, who has established himself as the premier utility piece in Major League Baseball, is part of a 3-team deal between the Cardinals, the Mariners, and the Tampa Bay Rays. I have no idea how the Tampa Bay Rays get involved here. All I know is that they're going to make out like bandits with a great prospect haul coming back. I don't know what's going where. I just know they're getting prospects. But Brendan Donovan goes to Seattle. Seattle had a glaring deficiency at second base and at third base, frankly. And they had a couple of options. They could have given the keys to the Corvette to Cole Young and Colt Emerson and said, hey, you guys are top 100 prospects in baseball. Colt Emerson is a borderline top 10 prospect in baseball. Let's see what you can do. Colt Emerson's 20 years old. Colt Emerson looked really good in 2 weeks in AAA, but he just got up to AAA at the end of the year. So you would be banking on so much unknown at third base and enough that you liked in the back half of the year in the big leagues from Cole Young. That was option A. Option B was go hunt in the waters of a Horner, a Donovan, somebody else. Option C was free agency. Go get a Luis Ariz. Go get a Rengifo if you wanted to bargain hunt a little bit. Maybe reunite with a Eugenio Suarez. I think they chose the best option because adding Brendan Donovan to the top of that lineup, like Julio hitting leadoff and Donovan hitting second, and then you go to the big dumper hitting third and Cal Raleigh. This lineup is looking more and more flawless when we were talking about how flawed they were for the last 3-4 years.
I'm really not surprised that the Mariners went after Brendan Donovan because not only, like you said, that they have an opening at second base and he clearly will play that position at a very high level, but it's also the fit in the lineup that I really like. Last season, the Mariners had a great offense led by Cal Raleigh, led by Julio Rodriguez, like you said, but they had some deficiencies. They striked out at a top 10 rate in Major League Baseball last year. They had the 7th highest strikeout rate as a team. And they also had the 10th lowest batting average as a team. This was a team that was built to hit the long ball. right? And they took their strikeouts in stride and they said, well, we're going to hit more home runs, so it's going to be okay, and we're going to make a run in the playoffs. And that's exactly what they did. So they still have a lot of those power hitters, but now you bring in Brendan Donovan, who's consistently going to be hitting in the 280 to 290 range, making really, really good ABs in front of guys like Julio Rodriguez, in front of guys like Cal Raleigh. Like, this is an addition where you might be at 7 pitches by the time you get to Julio Rodriguez in the 2 spot. But not only that, he's going to soak up a bunch of pitches from the opposing pitcher, but not strike out. Struck out at a 13% rate last year. So not only is he a great fit at second base, improves their defense, and also provides some flexibility. He can go play the outfield. But he's such a good fit for this lineup. They don't need guys that hit a bunch of home runs. They need guys who are going to get on base. That's what Brendan Donovan does. They need guys who don't strike out. That's what Brendan Donovan does. So he's such a good fit from so many different angles. That's why I love the fit. We don't know what's going in return. I don't think it's going to be crazy expensive, but at least Mariners fans know, let's say they give up maybe a little bit too much. You got a 3-win player coming in who's a perfect fit for your lineup.
I think there's a chance the price is a little high, and they also have this revolving door that they can utilize at DH. I think that the DH spot will mostly be used by a Canzone and a Rob Refsnyder, but I don't think you're married to that. Refsnyder can play the corner outfield. There are options there with him, but I just look at what's to come in that infield. And Ben Williamson / Colt Emerson at third base, Cole Young at second base. Donovan can fit so many different boxes, and it doesn't stop anyone from blossoming. Like, that's my biggest thing. JP Crawford was really good last year. JP Crawford's in the final year of his contract. So is there a world that Cole Young plays shortstop in 2027? Maybe. Is there a world that Cole Young blossoms into a darn good second baseman? Yeah, absolutely. Could do the Terang thing and just never leave. Colt Emerson. Is his first taste of big league ball going to come at third base? Probably. Could Colt Emerson still keep that shortstop intrigue? Maybe. There are just a bunch of different, like, we're not at a fork in the road because there are 6 different ways the road could go, and they're all sunshine. You're not going to the big bad castle at the end of this weird fork in the road right now.
No, to your point, the Mariners are setting themselves up for both success now and success in the future.
Yes.
Right now, JP Crawford is still a good player. Brendan Donovan is still a really good player. So you got them both up the middle. Next year, we'll see. Is it Cole Young? Is it Colt Emerson? Is it a combination of all 4 of those guys in different ways? Is JP Crawford gone? We'll see, right? But at least this season, they are better than they were yesterday. Next season, they also have a really good plan forward. So right now, the Mariners, by making this trade, are setting themselves up for today and for tomorrow.
And I will say that very, very few teams in baseball are as good at doing that as the Seattle Mariners. Jerry Dipoto is their president of baseball operations, and Jerry Dipoto has this reputation of just wheeling and dealing. He's a very, very smart executive. He surrounded himself with a lot of really, really talented people in terms of prospect identification and player development. And Jerry Dipoto knows when to make the right move. Like, Naylor was an awesome move last year. And what do? The no-brainer of bringing Naylor back. They felt like there were more flaws in Eugenio Suarez's game, so they don't bring him back, but he was the jolt that could have helped last year down the stretch. Unfortunately, Gino was a little underwhelming, but they may have the best drafter in baseball in Scott Hunter, who does not miss on their first-round picks, the scouting director. They are so darn good at prospect acquisition. That system will never be bad, regardless of how much they have to trade. They have this pipeline of pitching that they have established. And when and if Gilbert, Kirby, Castillo walk, you've got Brian Wu ready to blossom into a top 10 pitcher in baseball. He's already knocking on the door of that. There are just so many good things happening with the Seattle Mariners right now. I know that Game 7 of the ALCS this past year was a major gut punch to them. They're angry. They've operated angry this offseason. I'm really excited to see what this version of Mariners baseball looks like, because I think this year may be the best version we've seen.
One last thing, too. I'm really, really excited for Mariners fans to get consistent eyeballs on Brendan Donovan, because he was a fan favorite among St. Louis Cardinal fans who have been watching baseball for a really long time. Why? Because Brendan Donovan is really good at playing the game of baseball.
Yes.
I am very excited for a smart fan base like the Seattle Mariners to watch Brendan Donovan day in and day out make consistently good at bats, consistently good defense, consistently good on the base pass, a really good baseball player. I think by the middle of next season, similar to what they saw with Josh Naylor, just being really good at baseball, Brendan Donovan is another guy who's really good at baseball. And I believe he'll become a fan favorite, similar to the way Josh Naylor did in Seattle.
I totally love it. So again, Brendan Donovan is headed from the St. Louis Cardinals to the Seattle Mariners, and the Mariners just got better, folks. Wrapping in a moment.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the two-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Drake May and Sam Darnold here and again. Getting out of Stidham, which who knows what that have brought to the Super Bowl, but at least we get a young quarterback in Drake May looking to stamp his claim to, yeah, Tom Brady was great for this organization. Let me see if I can run a couple championships up the flagpole early in my career. And then there's Sam Darnold at this point, where he's getting other general managers fired while he's making his run to the Super Bowl. He's been nothing short of really, really good this season.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Show Jack McMullen, Peter Appel, Peyton Jeter hanging out as well. We want to wrap by talking about the two marquee starting pitchers that remain unsigned at this point, in Framber Valdez and Zach Gallen. Everybody else has come off the market, and we were talking about the late movers, and it felt like as soon as Tucker signed with the Dodgers, everything got moving. And then two of the last bats that we were waiting on in Suarez and Arise signed over the weekend. What's left for Gallen and Framber? They are like the two big fish that still sit out there, and we're counting down the days. It's early February at this point. Pitchers and catchers are reporting at the end of next week, and we don't have homes for Gallen and Framber Valdez. I'm just going to say real quick, Framber, it feels like there's this standoff between him and Baltimore right now. He's going to be an Oriole at some point. It seems like it. But Gallen, he could go anywhere. I have no idea where it ends up.
Starting with Framber, I agree with you. I think they're in a standoff with Baltimore, and I think Baltimore's going to win. Because if you're in a standoff with one team on a free agent contract, generally speaking, the team wins. So I think the Orioles are in a good position, but they should absolutely sign Framber. Not only because Framber is and has been one of the more consistent pitchers in baseball, but Framber is one of the best ground ball artists in the game. And Framber, his pitch mix, the majority of his ground balls are pulled to the left side of the infield, right? He's got that curveball breaking in. He's got that sinker. A lot of righties can't help themselves from pulling it on the ground. Imagine all the ground balls that are going to get soaked up by Gunnar Henderson and Jordan Westberg.
Yeah.
I love that combination there at that ballpark. I think Framber would take maybe not a huge step, but I just think he'll continue to be as consistent of a pitcher as he was. I also think the Giants, again, I would love for them to add a starting pitcher. It does seem like Posey and company, they're done spending, but I just think about the majority of Framber's ground balls would be to Willy Adames and Matt Chapman.
But what if it gets down to 1 year and $25 million, and then you've got a player option or something?
The Giants should absolutely be in that running. And I also think the Cubs are fine right? If they don't sign Fromber, they don't sign Gallen, they're okay. I look at the rotation right now and I think, is Shota the weak link?
Probably,
they have a good
and you can't
rotation,
remove
right?
him because he's making $22 million.
Exactly. They got Boyd, they got Cabrera, they got Horton, they got Tyon, and they got Shota, and they got Steele coming back. So they are good. But don't you want to really compete? And then think about that left side of the infield. Dansby and Bregman scooping up your grounders.
That's great.
We're good there.
Yeah.
Right? So those are the three teams that I think should be the most involved on Fromber. The problem is the Giants and the Cubs seem like they're done spending, and the Orioles still have that sack of money. He's such an Oriole. He is such an Oriole, and it's such a good fit. It's perfect.
A great
that
fit.
should just happen. It should happen.
Yeah. So Peyton just dropped us some good notes. To quantify your pulled ground ball remark, 29% pulled ground ball rate. League average is about 20%, so he's about 10% higher than major league average when it comes to pulled ground balls against him. Also, just flat out ground ball rate. He rolls ground balls at a 62% clip. Major league average is 44%, so he's about 20% better than major league average. He is the premier ground ball getter in baseball. But Peyton also made the point, Elias not signing Framber Valdez would be like Deshaun Jackson fumbling at the 1 yard line. I agree at this point. Like, he is an just get it done. With Gallen, we've got about 2 minutes left. My brain is in a pretzel with Zach Gallen. He could end up anywhere, and I'm not shocked. I think this guy signs a 1 year deal at this point, and I hope it's north of $25 million. I don't know if it will be.
And it's funny, Ranger got 5 for 130, I think he got. You know, there's a part of me that's like, if Ranger got that, Gallen should get a 3-4 year deal. I mean, I know last year wasn't great, but you see the 2 years before, 3.65 ERA, 3.47 ERA. What happened this year? I mean, you know, the strikeout rate went down a little bit. The stuff wasn't nearly as good, and you see all the blue on his Savant.
But he's on the hill, man.
He's on the hill, and what I saw is a 14.5% home run to fly ball rate. That's way out of whack. XFIP, it's a ERA predictor that normalizes home run to fly ball rate. They said his ERA should be about 4.12 next year, or at least from that season, excuse me. But that would be the prediction based off his 4.85 ERA if he was able to get that home run to fly ball rate to come down. Who's a team that needs a pitcher desperately and has a big old ballpark? The Detroit Tigers, please.
Ooh.
Please. I mean, do you know who their projected fifth starter is right now with Jackson Jobe recovering from Tommy John?
Is it the other half of Tarek Skubal that was left at the arbitration hearing on Wednesday?
Tarek Skubal with his right arm. No, it's Drew Anderson.
Yeah.
We need a 5-starter.
Yeah.
We need a 5-starter. Like, we do. Especially when you have Mize and Olsen who haven't proven that they can consistently eat innings, and Flaherty's your 2. Don't we want to win the Central in your last year of Skubal? Go get Zach Gallen. Get him. Get him.
I think that makes a lot of sense, man. There are some other fun fits as well, and there are some teams that you wouldn't think of as clear-cut World Series contenders that could be a fit for Gallen, but you know what? We shall see where Zach Gallen and Framber Valdez end up. Huge thank you to Peyton Genis. For Peter Appel, I'm Jack McMullen. If you need any link, that is in the episode description. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it was on YouTube, on X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or with us on SportsGrid. We will talk to you next time. Appreciate it, folks.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
Stack enough wins to avoid a brutal matchup path, and when Giannis gets back full burst, they got to get him back on the floor and back on the floor healthy. The Bucs season won't be defined by the game Giannis misses. It'll be defined whether Milwaukee protects him from himself and gets him back in April, if he's still a part of the team.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
David Tyree.
Oh, wow.
The 2008 Giants win against the New England Patriots, and the Tyree catch of the Plaxico Burress game-winning touchdown. That was the only other time in Super Bowl history where the betting public won money.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.